It's the appointed time and we have a quorum. Item 1 on the agenda, information paper issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat has issued 3 sets of paper. Details been set out on the agenda. Please note that one of it is a letter from Mr. Stanley and Mr. TANG Ka-piu on policy support to hidden single-parent families. They ask the panel to discuss the relevant matters in this meeting. The administration has submitted a set of information paper in response. If members agree to it, under the any other business item, I will ask the administration to briefly talk about their support measures. Any questions? If not, let's move on to the next item, items for discussion at the next meeting. Please refer to CB bracket 11163/2025, bracket 01 and bracket 02. In the September meeting on the 8th of September 2025, Monday, 10:45 a.m., we're going to discuss first A, implementation progress of the residential care services scheme in Guangdong, and B, implementation progress of the pilot scheme on elderly comprehensive social security assistance recipients to reside in residential care homes in Guangdong. Do members agree to the arrangement? Dr. Teck Ji-yun, please turn on his microphone. Good morning. Am I coming through? Chairman, I heard the Secretary talk about how we should support high-risk carers. I hope that in the next meeting, the administration will come to us to talk about their support measures for high-risk carers. If not, I hope that they will supply us with a written response. Thank you. Let's take note of this request. Any other questions? If not, on the agenda is the implementation progress of the new requirements under the Residential Care Homes Legislation Miscellaneous Amendments Ordinance 2023. Would members please refer to CB bracket 11163/25, bracket 03 and bracket 04. We have today with us Mr. Ho Kai-ming, Undersecretary for Labor and Welfare. I will ask him to brief us on the paper. Members who would like to put questions, please press the request to speak button now. Undersecretary. Thank you. Chairman, members, we're here to brief members on the implementation progress of the new requirements under the Residential Care Homes Legislation Miscellaneous Amendments 2023. By end of 2025, there are about 1,200 RCHEs and RCHDs in Hong Kong, providing a total of about 98,000 residential care places with about 83,000 residents. These are not subvented places only. They include private places as well. In 2023 June, the LegCo passed the amendment ordinance to enhance regulation and service standards. Major amendments to the ordinance including enhancing eligibility of RCH operators, registration system for home managers, providing for registration system for health workers, enhancing minimum staffing requirements as well as the minimum area of floor space per resident. The enhancement have been put in place since the material date, that is 16th of June 2024. As for the enhancement of minimum area of floor space per resident, there will be a longer transitional period. Under the registration system for home managers from the material date to the end of March 2025, there are about 1,278 persons registered as registered home managers and 229 persons registered as registered home managers provisional. There are about 2,800 persons who have completed their renewal for home managers, accounting for half of the health workers registered prior to the material date. Regarding minimum staffing requirement, we see an enhanced increase in the manpower of the sector. There was a 10% increase in the number of care workers in RCH. As a result, residents were able to receive quality care. Regarding minimum area of floor space for a resident, the number of service places in RCHs have increased over the past 3 years. The Social Welfare Department has been organizing thematic seminars and talks to the practitioners in the sector to enhance service quality so that RCH complied with the relevant regulations. The licensing office of the RCHEs and licensing office of the RCHDs have conducted about 8,000 inspections of RCHs each year to make sure that these homes comply with the legislation. Thank you. There are 9 members who have pressed the button. I'll read out their names. Mr. Michael Tian, Mr. Tan Yuhen, Dr. Teck Chi-yun, Mr. Chau-pei, Mr. Chao Chiu-chong, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Stanley, Ms. Doreen Kong, and Ms. Lillian Kwok. Each member will have 4 minutes, including question and answer. We have another item today, so please adhere to the time limit. Mr. Michael Tian. Thank you, Chairman. According to paragraph 14, it is said that the SWD conducted an average of around 8,000 inspections of RCH each year, and it said that the vast majority of the RCH except licensing offices advise and rectify their non-compliance. I think that this is rather vague. They haven't given us any breakdown. The administration has conducted about 8,000 inspections. How many advice or warnings have you issued? How many homes have been prosecuted? You said that vast majority of the homes accept the advice. How many did not accept the advice? And what would you do if they don't? What is the time limit for the RCH to implement rectification action? If they don't comply with your requirements within a certain period of time, will you conduct another round of inspection? You need to give us more numbers and details. Please address my questions. Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I will ask the SWD to supplement later on. Regarding the numbers of advice and prosecutions instigated, they have been uploaded onto the website. Ms. Kwan. Thank you. We attach a lot of importance to the quality of RCHs. So we conduct inspections during office and non-office hours. During inspection, if we find any non-compliance, we will have regards to the severity and the nature to take enforcement action. We may give advice or warning. Can you just answer my questions directly? I just want some numbers so that I have a fuller picture. How many cases of non-compliance? For RCHEs over the past year, 2024-25, I'm asking about the figures among the 8,000 inspections in the past 5 years. How many cases of non-compliance there were? And how many prosecutions have you instigated? I have a number per year. On average, we have issued about 100 advices. So altogether, in the past 5 years, you have issued 500 advices. Regarding prosecution with conviction, we have 100 over the past 5 years altogether. So you've issued 500 advice letters over the past 5 years. As this Undersecretary said, we have uploaded all this information onto our website. I think that this is ideal. Please carry on. What happens if the RCH don't accept your advice? If the RCH do not rectify their non-compliance upon issuance of advice letter, we will issue a warning or written directions, or we will prosecute them. What happens if they don't rectify their non-compliance despite that? Some RCHs do not comply with the written directions. Within a time limit, we instigate prosecutions against these homes. So overall speaking, all of the RCHs have rectified their non-compliance. Did you conduct another round of inspections in order to close the file? Yes. If we detect any non-compliance during our inspections, we will take follow-up action. We may conduct another round of inspection to see if the homes have rectified their non-compliance as they promised. Otherwise, we will proceed to the next step. So there is no case of recidivism. If there is, we would have instigated a prosecution. Next, Mr. Tan Yuhan. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the Residential Care Homes Legislation Ordinance 2023, well, there is a requirement on minimum area of floor space per resident. That is, the minimum area of floor space per residence in a high care or medium care level R6 has to be enhanced and increased. I know that there is a transitional period. In order to meet the minimum area requirement, the homes have to either expand their space or reduce the number of residents. Each homes are different. I believe that they have difficulties fulfilling the new requirements. Has the administration noticed any difficulties faced by the homes, and will you provide resources to help them to meet the requirements? Will you ask the homes to give you a timetable and the plan? If they have to expand their space, how much space has to be increased, and when they will meet the requirement? If they do have a plan and a timetable, then the administration would have a grasp of the progress to see if these homes can meet the requirements in time. Have you asked for such a plan? If the homes have to reduce the number of residents in order to meet the requirements, some residents may have to relocate to another care homes. So throughout the process, how do you minimize the impact caused to the residents in these care homes? We don't want to disrupt the care received by these residents. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Dr. Tan for raising this issue. I will ask the SWD to talk about the progress during the transitional period. This period lasts 8 years. The material date was June last year. So the transitional period will only end in 2034, that span across 3 terms of government. I believe that this is a rather lax transitional period, because we know that some residents will be affected. Because as Dr. Tan said, some care homes may choose to renovate in order to meet the minimum area requirements. Some may reduce the number of bed places. Some care homes choose to just close down by the end of the transitional period. We expect this to happen, but according to our assessment, not many care homes would opt for such a route. We hope that all care homes will try to improve their environment to meet the requirements. For care homes that don't meet the requirements, residents only have a very limited space. I believe that after the amendment to the legislation, the residents will have a bigger space to live in. I will ask the SWD to supplement.
Chair.
Right. Ms. Nancy Kwan, please. We had 400 odd homes before the amendments of the legislation that we have seen they haven't met the relevant standards. We now only have 300 odd. So we believe the amendments are working well. And we also have dedicated teams inspecting the relevant homes. And 380 odd out of the 390 odd homes are already planning to reduce the number of beds. We have 2 homes that are planning to close as well. We will continue to maintain liaison with the relevant homes to see what they need. If necessary, we can provide some sort of support. Thank you. Dr. Teck Chi-yun. Thank you. The passage of the relevant amendments is a good thing because it can improve the staffing ratio. It can also improve the living environment of homes. As the Undersecretary said, the living environment of homes was not exactly pleasant. So we want to definitely improve the environment. We're now in a transitional period. I understand that we have conducted 8,000 inspections and there was follow-up action taken. The minimum staffing ratio is actually very straightforward. I think rectification should be undertaken immediately because if you don't implement the relevant standards, it is not what you intended to do with the miscellaneous amendments of the ordinance. So I want to ask, for the 500 odd cases in which you issued warning letters, when was action taken to rectify the subpar conditions, and how long did it take you to initiate prosecution? It is said in 2032 we will have a reduction of 5,000 beds. I believe that would mean for an improvement of the living environment, which is good. But then with 5,000 beds less, would that cause a problem with the supply and demand? We have an aging population. There should be a greater demand for RCH beds. But now you have 5,000 beds less. Will you do something about it? How are you going to deal with it? I think with subsidized homes, the fees are more or less going to be the same after the amendments are implemented. But for the private homes, more likely than not, they will transfer the increase in costs to residents and their families. If the residents and their families face difficulties, if they cannot stay in homes, what kind of support can be offered to them? Thank you. Undersecretary, I will let the SWD officer talk about the warning cases. We have 98,000 spaces and we only had 83,000 odd residents, and we still have capacity, an excess capacity of over 8,000 to 9,000. So we should be able to meet the relevant demand. We haven't counted the spaces outside Hong Kong either. At the next panel meeting, we'll talk about the situation in the Greater Bay Area. There will be capacity there. So in future, there will be different options available for citizens of Hong Kong to see where they can go for a residential care home. As for conditions for admission to homes, there are no requirements as to the threshold for assets or income that one must not pass. So essentially, the richest man in Hong Kong can also be admitted to a residential care home. But we do have some means requirements for subsidized homes not just in Hong Kong, but also in the Greater Bay Area mainland cities. So as long as one is in a poor enough condition in terms of health, one will be admitted to a residential care home in Hong Kong or in a mainland city of the Greater Bay Area. I'll let Ms. Kwan supplement my answers. If we do not have adequate staff members, we ask the homes to engage enough staff members immediately, and I can provide some figures. We have quite a number of prosecution cases actually had the conditions unmet relating to minimum staffing ratio. Thank you. Mr. Chau-pei. I would like to follow up on the issues of minimum staffing ratio and minimum area of floor space per resident. So you have conducted 8,000 inspections and you had issued around 500 warning letters. So that means for a percentage of 6%, oh no, it's actually 40,000 inspections for the 5 years, 8,000 per year. Oh, so that looks better. For the 1,100 odd homes, I don't think a lot of homes are inspected considering the total number of homes in Hong Kong. So can you step up inspections? That's my first question, but then that also has to do with insufficient manpower within the department. I also want to ask about the minimum area of floor space per resident. You said there were 16 new homes and then 8 homes closed. In general, there was an increase in the number of beds. But you also said in the next 5 years, you would have 5,000 beds less. You are saying there are 389 of the homes have plans to reduce the number of existing residential care places. So what will you do to make sure there is an adequate number of beds for people? Undersecretary, we have yet to receive notification from 4 homes on what they're going to do to rectify their situation, and 2 of them later said they would close. With the mainland city's homes supports, we now have an additional 15 subsidized homes available for choosing. The SWD has experience and expertise to deal with the relevant situation when homes are about to close down, and they can liaise with the individual families to see how things can be handled on a case-by-case basis. I will let the Assistant Director supplement my answers. I'll supplement some information on inspections. We have every year approximately 8,000 inspections as said. We adopt a risk-based approach as well. When we have received complaints, we'll step up the number of inspections to the specific homes. And if we have issued warning homes to the homes, we will also step up inspections with those homes to make sure they meet our standards. That's it for me. Thank you. Mr. Chau Siu-chung. Thank you. I have several questions. On registration of health workers and the renewal of registration. In accordance with the latest requirements, the registration mechanism is to be implemented and it has been about a year. You have completed about half of the registrations and renewals. Do you have a timeline when you will complete the registration and renewal of registration for the health workers? So we are to have in future health and care practitioners. We also want to provide a career ladder for the sector. Will you have any incentives or measures, specifically training courses, to support the younger care workers to be trained to become health workers and health workers to be trained to become health and care practitioners? The health and care practitioners are a part of the professional pathway for the career ladder in the sector, but then according to a previous consultation report, it is said that we will have 220 vacancies. So it seems that the demand for the grade in particular is not exactly that huge, but we need this as a part of the career ladder. We have also, for the professional importation schemes, we can import at most 3,000 nurses. Since we are already importing that many people, how can the government make sure the part of the career ladder of health and care practitioner will still be attractive? According to paragraph 13, we have 17,700 care workers. How many of them are imported? How many of them are local? How many of them work in subsidized homes? How many of them work in private homes? Thank you. Do you have the relevant figures, Undersecretary? I'll let my colleague supplement the relevant figures. The deadline for registration of health workers is actually 2029, before the registration is effective permanently. So we have given a relatively long time, 5 years, for them to register or renew their registration. So we are handling the applications in batches. Please rest assured, we'll make sure to handle all applications in time. We talked about how there would be a vacancy. A gap of, or a vacancy of 220 nurses. But then that did not take into account the natural wastage of nurses. That also includes all registered nurses in Hong Kong. We believe there will still be a gap in the RCH sector. We do understand that there is a need to have a career ladder, and we also think there is a need for importing nurses because we need diversified pathways to make sure we have enough nurses. We continue to have support for people to enroll in enrolled nurse courses. We also will continue to have an importation pathway so that homes can engage enrolled nurses as they need. I'll let my colleagues supplement the figures. We have 6,600 of the 17,700 care workers being imported. How many of them work in subsidized homes? How many of them work in private homes? We do not have the relevant figures. We'll provide the figures after the meeting. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to clarify some figures. If we refer to the paper, you talked about the 98,000 residential care places with around 83,000 residents in RCHEs and RCHDs altogether. But when you talk about the increase in the number of homes and residents, you combine the two. Can you give us a breakdown to let us know more about the actual situation? If you give us a total number, then it seems that the supply is higher than demand because the occupancy rate is only 85% among the 15,000 service places that you have on the market. But for subvented places in 2027, you're going to increase the number of service places by some 2,000. And you said that there will be 35,000 service places altogether. But I refer to the 2023 paper. You said that there is a 5,000 shortage in the number of service places. Now, this has to do also with the waiting time. I know that we have to look at not just the number, but also the distribution of these service places when we look at the number of shortage. If you don't have the breakdown now, please supplement in writing later on. Second, you said that in 2032, you will see a reduction of about 5,000 residential care places because the homes have to increase their minimum area of floor space per resident. Their care homes will see their space increased, and they will also have to hire more people to meet the minimum staffing requirements. Over the past 1 year, you said that there was an increase of 1,200 additional residential care places because of the increase in the number of residential care homes in the past year. Have you looked into the fares, the cost of operation of these new RCHs on the market, how they compare to the existing ones? Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Lam for his question. He asks for some figures. If we just look at the quantity, we know that there is a surplus. But as we all know, many people opt for subvented places instead of private homes because for subvented places, they will only have to pay $2,000 compared to $8,000 for private places. The waiting time is about 18 to 19 months. For bought place schemes, it's about 2 months to 3 months. For RCHDs, the situation is more complicated because, as we explained, there are some more than 10 types of RCHDs. We have midway homes, and we also have integrated care homes in Xiulam, which has been commissioned, and it has shortened the waiting time for some types of disabilities. And some private RCHDs told us that they don't have enough demand. For some midway homes, for example, there is still a queue. So we do have to look into the figures before we can give you a breakdown. If we have available land, we will build appropriate facilities. I will ask the Deputy Director to supplement you with more figures. The member asked about occupancy rate. For RCHEs, subvented ones, the occupancy rate is 95%. For private homes, is about 81%. For RCHDs, for subvented ones, the occupancy rate is about 93%. For private ones, is about 80%. Any follow-up questions? I'd like to know more about the operation model. For private homes, the occupancy rate is just about 80%. With your new requirements, they are faced with a higher operating cost. I hope that you will follow up on the case of private homes, if they cannot control their costs, then their service quality would drop, regardless of how stringent your enforcement actions are. If they cannot sustain their operation, then the number of service places will definitely go down. Please give us a detailed distribution of the service places across the territory in writing. Thank you. That's a comment. Please note. Next, Mr. Stanley Ng. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the progress of the amendment ordinance, I have 3 different questions. First, on the rank of the health and care practitioners, we've talked about this. We know that the government will introduce this new rank and grade to the market. I'd like to know more about the progress and if there is a timetable. Because under this elderly persons regulations and persons with disabilities regulations, we're going to introduce this new health and care practitioner position. I'd like to know more about the progress. Second, on the registration system for home managers. The care homes have to hire home managers with at least 5 years of experience serving as a health worker in an RCH. Can a health worker having served 5 years in an RCH meet the requirements? I know that there are about 31,000 health workers in Hong Kong, but only 5,300 are serving. That's 1/6 of the number of health workers that are registered. So how come there are so few health workers that are serving in RCH? How does the government interpret this figure, and how will they encourage more health workers to actually take part in the market? Regarding the first 2 questions, I will ask the SWD to answer them. As for the third question, as we adopt a lifelong mechanism, as long as a person is registered as a health worker, they don't have to renew their licenses. Some of them may have passed away, some of them may have left the market. They may not cancel the registration with us. In the future, we will ask them to renew their licenses, and the license will be subject to a validity period. In the future, we will have a figure that is more aligned with reality. Thank you. Deputy Director. Regarding the health and care practitioners position, HCP, since the promulgation of the consultancy report, we have been talking to potential training providers, and we are preparing for the programs. We expect that in mid-2025, we will start enrolling students, and by 2027, the first batch of graduates will start working as HCPs. Regarding amendment to legislation, we are also preparing for that. Hopefully, we will introduce the bill into the legislature in 2026. That's about HCP. Regarding a registration system for home managers, health workers who have worked as an RCH for at least 5 years, they can register as a home managers. That's just one of the eligibility requirements. These people have to undertake a course relating to home managers, and they have to apply to the Director of Social Welfare to become a home manager. The director will see if they are suitable. They will look into whether they have been convicted before. The director will only grant a license to the relevant applicant only if they think that they are eligible. I will draw the line here. Ms. Doreen Kong, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Chairman. All members are concerned about how we can enhance the quality of care homes. We put in place this minimum staffing requirements to increase the quality of residential care homes. Regarding the records of warnings issued by SWD in the past 12 months, they are made public. But as mentioned by the Deputy Director, over half of them they were not able to comply with the minimum staffing requirements under 11(1)(b) under the regulation. I think that this is very concerning. If so many care homes are not able to meet the minimum staffing requirements, then it seems that our requirements are too strict. We see deficiencies among residential care homes. So I wonder how far off these care homes are from meeting the minimum staffing requirements among the cases that you cite on your website. Is there a difference between the RCHDs and RCHEs? Is there a particular type of homes that are facing severe minimum staffing requirements compared to the other types? Many registered health workers are not serving the sector, so I wonder if the administration will try to encourage registered health workers to re-enter the sector. The administration also said that other requirements relating to staffing will be implemented progressively, but it seems that we are having a shortage in terms of manpower in the sector, and this situation will perhaps be exacerbated when we implement other requirements. How will you solve the problem, Undersecretary? Before the SWD give you more figures, I'd like to say that Ms. Kong's observation is very correct. This is a demand and supply issue. Regardless of how strict the requirements are, if there's not sufficient manpower supply, then the homes will not be able to still meet the requirements. The unemployment rate is just 3.5%. And we understand that the care homes are not able to secure enough manpower. We'll continue to nurture more workers by providing them with training in Hong Kong, and we will organize training courses for care homes. We may also import workers to fill the manpower gap. Last year, the quotas was 7,000, and starting from last year, we were going to increase the quota to 23,000 per year, or 2,000 to 3,000 per year. Health workers usually stay in the same sector. They will not switch to, say, catering industry if they see any vacancies there. Local workers like to see career progression. That's why we create this new rank of HCPs. At the same time, we will import workers in order to fill the manpower gap. The working hours for RCHEs are rather fixed. For other industries and sectors, workers rely on overtime work in order to earn more. I will ask the SWD to supplement. Thank you.
有，多謝主席。
Anything to add? Yes. For convicted cases, for those who have breached the minimum staffing ratio, all of those homes are RCHEs. There's no RCHD that was breaching the relevant requirement. We had 80 private RCHEs breaching the relevant requirement. They mainly involve the specific staff members not being on duty for an adequate number of duty hours. Thank you. Ms. Lin Kwok. I also have some questions about manpower. We had discussed the relevant issue many times before. We talked about how we should train care and health workers from a secondary school level, and we also have some QF courses or non-QF courses available. So how can we integrate these courses into your framework? Is there a progression pathway? I understand since 2017 you have had some subsidized EN courses, and we have 3 self-financing institutions providing the relevant courses. I believe over 3 years you will have increased the places to 1,700 odd, and these graduates would have to serve in the sector for at least 3 years, I believe. So I want to ask how many of these graduates actually stayed in the social welfare sector to work the full 3 years. That's my first question. If they do not work the full 3 years, what happened to them? I need to know about this because this relates to public money. And I also want to ask, how much did we spend on training these people, and how many people have been trained? Thank you. Undersecretary. If we do have schools training care workers on a secondary school level, unfortunately we do not have the relevant figures. As for how many of the enrolled nurse course graduates stayed in the RCH sector for 3 years, we should have the relevant figures, but I do not have them on hand. The courses are fully subsidized. I believe a course would cost approximately $200,000 per student. And it's all on the government, the cost. We want to ensure there is an adequate supply of enrolled nurses. If one does not serve in the sector for the full 3 years, they have to pay back the sum. I'll let the Assistant Director supplement some information. We have conducted some surveys. We have conducted surveys from 2017 to 2021. We had approximately 700 graduates who have responded to the survey. 500 odd of them are still working in the RCH sector as enrolled nurses. 70 odd of them are working in RCHDs, and 400 of them are working in RCHEs. What about the rest, the 230 people? I believe they had made other choices. Some may have undertaken further training to become registered nurses. Some of them probably considered other careers, maybe working in the health sector. I have some follow-up questions. So for those who are moving on to registered nurses, how many of them there are? And you are saying less than 230 people who have switched to other paths and they have paid back the sum. how many of them are there exactly? Well, unfortunately, we do not have the specific figures on how many of them moved on to become registered nurses. If they do not serve in the RCH sector for the full 3 years, they have to pay back the sum. Have you got all that money back? Do you have the relevant figures? We do not have the relevant figures. Perhaps you can provide them after the meeting then. We have 2 members wanting to speak for the second round. Any other members who would like to speak for a second round, please indicate so. We have Mr. Michael Tian and Dr. Tik Chi-yun having indicated that they want to speak for the second round. I'll draw the line here. Mr. Michael Tian, I'll assign a 3-minute time limit. I won't need the 3 minutes. I'll be brief. We have some registration requirements in place, and we will have in future 2 home managers. We have 2,000 odd homes in Hong Kong. So we only have right now registered home managers being in the ballpark of 1,400. So we have a pretty decent gap. How can we have enough home managers? We have some in training, but it would take them to train the home managers. How can we make up for the gap? Well, each home would need at least 1 home manager. We have 2 free training quotas for each home for their staffers to undertake training to become home managers. We want to have 1 more because, sometimes people may leave, but we only need 1 home manager per home. But we had inspections done, and we found that the home manager that was supposed to be on duty was on leave, and the other was still in training. So how are we going to deal with this? I'll let the SWD director respond to that. Of course, a home manager may be on leave from time to time, and other staff members can step in. It's just that a home must engage at least 1 home manager. But the home manager must be trained. It cannot be any proxy. One has to have had undertaken the relevant course. So once the home manager is on leave, if they are to produce another qualified officer, it may be difficult. So they should have, for safety, at least 2. So when one is on leave, the other can be there. While actually in law, one can apply to become a registered home manager professional, and they do not have to take the relevant courses. Is that what you meant? No, they have to comply with the statutory requirements. And we give them, these professional home managers, 2 years to be trained to become the registered home managers. So one is on leave, the other is taking a training course. And as long as one can prove that they are under training, then the requirement is seen to be met. Excuse me. One can register to be a professional home manager if they have undertaken training course. One may not be seen as having fulfilled the home manager requirement. So as long as one is undertaking a course, one can be seen as a home manager. There are some requirements that have to be met. So one has to be undertaking a bachelor's degree. They have to have this bachelor's degree qualification. Well, I don't understand. So the conditions may not be met. Well, maybe we can follow up on this after the meeting. Thank you. Dr. Tik Chi-yun. we were mainly concerned about enforcement against homes. We had, over the past 5 years, 500 odd irregularities, and many of them had an issue complying with the minimum staffing ratio requirement. I understand that has something to do with the manpower supply situation, and we have seen an increase in the supply of manpower. So I think we should no longer use that as an excuse. What is important now is strict enforcement of the law. We have the laws in place, so we should have stringent enforcement. We should step up inspections. We shouldn't be lax in enforcement. If after repeated warnings the homes do not rectify the situation, we should revoke the licenses. I think the target should be that we have 0 irregularities. We need to protect the elderly. We need to make sure we are implementing the laws. Thank you. Any response from the Undersecretary? Chair. Thank you, Dr. Tick, for your comments. We, of course, want to enforce the law. We did not revoke the licenses right away, but then it does not mean we will necessarily renew the licenses. We had some licenses that are unrenewed. We want to make sure there is an adequate number of staff members taking care of elderly as well. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to the discussion of the next agenda item. Preparation for the commencement of the mandatory reporting of child abuse ordinance. Please refer to the relevant papers on the agenda. We need to invite the representatives of the administration to come inside the conference room. We have Mr. Ho Kai-ming, the Undersecretary, and his team. Let's invite the Undersecretary to brief members on the paper. We will then ask Ms. Wendy Chow, Assistant Director of Family and Child Welfare from the Social Welfare Department, to give a PowerPoint presentation. Members who wish to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. Undersecretary, please. Thank you. The mandatory reporting of child abuse ordinance was passed on 11th of July 2024 and will commence on 20th January 2026. The policy objective of the ordinance is to mandate specified professionals in the relevant sectors to report serious child abuse cases, creating a wide and effective protection web for children and sending a strong deterrent to potential perpetrators. Starting from January of this year, we have a 3-phase child protection campaign launched to enhance awareness and people's initiative in protecting children. We have training, we have publicity, and education. In the first phase, we have targeted regulatory and accreditation bodies of specified professionals and administrators of institutions to create a report-friendly environment. The launch ceremony was launched in January this year, and in the first 2 quarters of this year, we have held talks for the administrators to tell them do's and don'ts under the new laws, so that the relevant administrators will review the relevant guidelines of their institutions to make sure they are in line with the new laws. We have organized 11 talks and over 3,200 administrators attended relevant talks. Once the regulatory and accreditation bodies have confirmed the relevant guidelines, we will proceed with them. In the second phase, we want to make sure professionals understand the legal framework and reporting requirements related to the ordinance so that they can make reports as required by the law. in future. And we have set up an e-learning platform to provide training. We have 2 modules of the online training course available. And we have the guide for mandated reporters details. We have the social welfare sector, education sector, and the health sector forming the consultative panels. And we have gauge feedback from 500 odd frontline professionals when promulgating the guide. And the guide will be made available later this month. Afterwards, we will hold briefings for the professionals. We will make sure professionals can make use of the relevant app to make reports as required. We will later on publish the relevant contents of the training course and the references and upload them onto the platform for professional reference so that they can refresh themselves on the content if necessary. We have already published content on protection of children to numerous professionals. We believe with Module 2 being made available later this year, we will be able to enhance their knowledge even further. Next, in the 3rd phase, it will target the general public so as to enhance the public's understanding of the policy objective of mandatory reporting. We will also have some television, radio, and social media publicity so that we can have publicity that permeates all levels. We do anticipate there is potentially going to be an increase in child abuse reports. So we have been trying to increase residential childcare service places. On a pilot basis, the Social Welfare Department will convert the children and youth centers, 4 of them, into community parents and children centers to promote parent-child interaction through play-based services, render support for families with parenting needs, and refer families with other needs to appropriate government and community services. That's it from me. I will now ask Ms. Chau to give the PowerPoint presentation.
Ms. Chau, please. Thank you, Chairman. The guide was formulated with the concerted efforts of the social welfare, education, and healthcare sectors. The 3 consultative panels have analyzed many cases that we received before formulating the details. It includes an electronic decision tree. We have made this available for the mandated reporters for use or reference. The details will be set out in the guide for mandated reporter. In this meeting, we will brief you on the electronic decision tree in the guide. It will cover 4 different types of child abuse, and we will give mandated reporters a framework for analysis to facilitate the mandated reporters in making their report. This decision tree is a reference for the mandated reporters. It will not replace the judgment, and it will not affect the mandated reporters in making the decision that they deem fit. Before reporters make a report, they don't have to necessarily make use of the flowchart or the decision tree. If a case is obviously an abuse, mandated reporters should make a report as soon as possible. If the reporter is experienced, they may not have to make use of this flowchart or decision tree. Before making a report, the mandated reporters have to have regards to all circumstances of the case. They have to make a consolidated analysis and make a professional judgment. There is an analysis framework under the decision tree. There is physical, mental abuse, indecent assault, and neglect on the child's dietary needs. As neglect involves different nature, so we categorize them into 4 different types of neglect. And we have set out different analysis framework for each of them. We have picked a neglect on dietary needs of children as an example because we see that there are parents that abuse dangerous drugs who feed their children of an age below 6 months with soy milk, and this is very serious. Mandated reporters may not be sure if they should make a report, and if this is the case, they can make use of the analysis framework. We give the mandated reporter some factors to consider before they make a report to help them in making an analysis. On the electronic platform, as you can see, over the left, there are some factors to consider, and over the right, we offer mandated reporters some explanation. When the professionals fill out the forms, they can choose yes, no, or uncertain. The first question is whether the mandated reporters has preliminary suspicion as to whether the children has been abused. Some children may disclose the abuse to the mandated reporters themselves. Some mandated reporters may believe that there is a preliminary suspicion according to their professional judgment. If that's the case, they may press yes. As for the next question, the mandated reporters will have to consider whether the child's life and health has been affected because of insufficient dietary intake. If the mandated reporters doesn't really understand the question, they can refer to the right-hand side. We offer some explanation. We give them definition of, say, for example, insufficient dietary intake. We give them some factors to consider also. Say, for example, if there is any symptoms of insufficient nutrition of the children, do they need to seek medical help immediately? Over the right, we offer examples of insufficient dietary intake to facilitate the reporters in making the decision or in answering the questions. We also ask if the child is at serious risk of serious abuse. We ask if the children can protect themselves physically or mentally against insufficient dietary intake. If the child is young, they may not be able to protect themselves. We also have to look into whether the person in charge, that is the child's parents, have taken any intervention action to solve the problem. Say, for example, if the parent has sought help to solve the issues that they have, because if there is no official intervention, the risk may be higher. In some cases, even the families are receiving service, we have to look into whether the intervention has resulted in positive impact, because the attitude of the parents will affect the effectiveness of the intervention. If the parent refused to give the mandated reporters what's actually going on, then that may heighten the risk. Another factor to consider is whether there is another person who can help the children from being further harmed. They could be the close relative of the child or the caretaker. We also ask if the child goes to school regularly. We also have to assess if there is any risks involved in the parents Say, for example, if the parents is suffering from mental health problems, if they are abusing dangerous drug, or if they have any mental or physical disabilities. These are the things that the mandatory reporters have to take into account. If the neglect of the parents have constituted a serious risk, then we ask the mandatory reporters to make a report, and they may, as you can see, there is a red button, press on it, and they can file a report to the relevant bodies in writing. And there is a blank here for the mandatory reporters to give us more details of the case. After completing the flowchart, they may choose to download the result. The result will list out the factors considered by the mandatory reporters so that they can make an analysis holistically to assist them to make a decision. Another type of child abuse could be sexual harassment or sexual abuse. Many people are concerned about online grooming. Let me use this as an example. I have chosen, say, for example, sexual abuse here. First, the mandatory reporters have to answer whether they have suspicion. They may witness the incident from happening. It could be the case that the child disclosed the incident to the mandatory reporters, or it could be the third party reporting the case to the mandatory reporters. It could be also that the mandatory reporters watch videos or pictures involving the child. The mandatory reporters have to look into whether the child was coerced into participating in these sexual acts in such a way that they are harmed. If the mandatory reporters is not familiar with the nature of the act, they can refer to the framework on the right-hand side. We have listed out some of the examples. We have to know whether the child has had sex before and if they have been subject to indecent assault involving the child's private parts being touched. We also have to assess the risk. We have to know whether the suspected perpetrator lives with the child or if they are their close relative. Another factor to consider is whether the perpetrator has power over the child, if they are their teachers, their tutors. If they are, then the risk is higher. Regarding this case of online grooming, the mandatory reporters have to know if the child has been controlled in reality. If the perpetrator abuse a child sexually online, and if they have a plan to indecently assault the child, and if the mandatory reporters has reasonable suspicion that the child is at real risk of serious harm, then they have to make a report. Similarly, the reporter can record the details of the case here in the box before they make a decision, and they can choose to download the result. As a final step, we will give details of the case to the mandatory reporters. Some cases may not be serious abuse as defined under the law. Still, the mandatory reporters may make a report. They may be advised to provide appropriate follow-up action. Similarly, the reporter can download details of the case. They may not constitute serious abuse. Still, they may have to file a report with the SWD. When they have more details of the case, they can go through the steps again. These guide and the flow chart is the result of the concerted efforts of the three sectors. We have covered the decision tree, the analysis framework, and some of the scenarios. The guide has accumulated the experience of the sector. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
咁我哋
Thank you. We have 10 members having indicated their intention to speak. The order in which they're going to speak is Dr. Tan Yueheng, Mr. Michael Tian, Dr. Tik Shi-yun, Mr. Stanley Mr. Stanley Lee, Mr. Tang Ka-piu, Ms. Lillian Kuo, Ms. Doreen Kong, and Ms. Judy Chen. I will assign a 4-minute time limit. Dr. Tan Yueheng, please. Thank you. Having heard the introduction and presentation, I observed the government has done a lot in implementing the regime. So, the ordinance is to come into operation on 20th of January next year. We will see potentially an exponential increase in the number of reports. So I know that the government is now putting in place an internal workflow to deal with the increased number of reports. How can we make sure the reports are duly followed up on within a reasonable time frame? This is mandatory reporting. We have 25 classes of professionals having to report potential child abuse, whether for their own interests or for the interests of the children. These reports may not be substantiated due to inadequate evidence. But the government has to follow up on these reports anyway. But that may be a waste of manpower, resources, and money. So for the unsubstantiated reports or erroneous reports even, how can you make sure while the reports are being followed up on, but we are only using minimal resources on that? We need to strike a balance. Next, we will have a mandatory reporting platform. When will that be commissioned? Is it that in future all of the reports have to be made on the platform, or can they make a report with other channels? Or can we also have citizens make use of the platform? Can we encourage citizens to make use of the platform? Thank you. Undersecretary, I will give a brief answer and then I'll have the relevant SWD officer supplement my answers. I talked about in the paper we will have more non-directorate personnel dealing with the increased number of reports. From what I remember, it should be 40-odd officers. We will also have 2 emergency centers available. One of them is already commissioned in Tuen Mun. We have another that will open later this year in Kuntong. We will have 80 to 90 emergency places, and we should have in future 700 places available throughout the year. We did refer to the experience elsewhere. After mandatory reporting regime is implemented in other places, there is an increase in the number of reports, but we don't think it's due to an increase in the number of abuse cases alone. It's because of the fact that there is enhanced awareness. So that's always a good thing. I'll let Ms. Chau supplement my answers. Thank you. Once the ordinance commences, we have the police as well as the social welfare department increase their deployment to deal with the potential increase in the reported child abuse cases. We also have the 6 child care support teams that comprises of members from various sectors to provide adequate support to the children and the families in need under the Child Protection Support Service. Once reports have been received, we will conduct investigation and follow up on the cases under our respective functions. The police will conduct criminal investigations. The social welfare department will focus on providing protection to the children. We'll find out about the situation of the family. We will formulate protection and welfare plans for the children concerned, and we will work with other social welfare organizations to provide support to the children and families. The platform will be available to the mandated reporters. We ask the mandated reporters to first make a report to the police and or the Family and Child Protective Services Unit, and then in the end they can do the reporting on the platform so that they can conduct a more in-depth analysis and they can receive confirmation for their reporting. As for citizens reporting, we have different channels available for that. One can go to the police, one can go to the social welfare department, the Family and Child Protective Services units. We also have other channels of the social welfare department and police available. So should you go through such channels, we will always provide the support needed. Thank you. Mr. Michael Tian. In April, during the Special Finance Committee sessions, I asked a question about the Module 1 online training course, and you said in January, 32,000 of the professionals took the course. Do you have some updated figures? And what is the percentage of the people who have taken the relevant learning module out of the total number of professionals concerned? And is this voluntary? I also welcome the draft mandated reporters guide. I believe you only announced that a few days ago. You have taken your time. Anyway, I think the guide is quite useful. The platform will ask some questions and it will produce a result for your reference. But I think often cases are very complex. You can't really list everything. You only have some examples for illustration. AI needs big data to answer more questions. So is it possible for you to set up a hotline so that people can ask the experts for advice? I know it may be difficult, but I think you can at least allow some sort of appointments to be made with experts to have opportunities available to the professionals to consult some experts on the cases. Is it possible? Thank you. Before I ask Ms. Chau to supplement my answers, I want to say specifically this guide has yet to be promulgated because we want to consult the LegCo first, which is why we did not include this include the content specifically in the paper. I'll let Ms. Chau supplement my answers. For the learning course online, we have Module 1 available, and as at May, we had 52,000 people register for the platform, and we had over 50,000 people having taken the online course. What is the percentage of that out of the total number of professionals? It's hard to say because this is just an additional channel for professionals to undertake training. Apart from this platform, we have different policy bureaus, the Education Bureau, Health Bureau, the Hospital Authority, and the Social Welfare Department providing related courses. According to latest records, we have over 230,000 professionals having received knowledge in this regard. But the platform is a convenient platform for the professionals to refresh their memory. We had over 1 million hits on the platform already, actually, and we also held several online talks. For every online talk, we have recorded the talk and we have uploaded the videos onto the platform. So one may not be able to attend the event, but they can go online to review the contents. And the contents of the platform are available round the clock for professionals' reference. We will promulgate the guide later this year, and we will also make available Module 2 in batches from late July. These will all be reference materials for professionals. We will also hold more training workshops later this year. We will make adjustments if necessary for the platform. This platform was launched in relation to the ordinance. The formal launch of the platform is January next year to tie in with the commencement of the ordinance. Will you set up the hotline then? Well, in the guide, we will have the phone numbers of the police and the specific units of the social welfare department, as professionals are supposed to make a report first via phone. So they will get some advice already when they are trying to make the reports. But we ask professionals to exercise their professional judgment to see if this is potentially a case of child abuse. If they suspect child abuse, they should make a report. Thank you. Dr. Tik-chi-yun. I think something good has come out of this. We have in future good protection web for children, and I do thank the social welfare department for heeding our previous feedback. We do also appreciate you incorporating feedback from the specific sectors. For the guide, I think the presentation was very clear and the procedures are very detailed. I want to ask, for a social worker who was accused of not having made a report as a mandated reporter, can this guide essentially act as a defense? If one said they have followed the procedures in the guide, would one be regarded as having established a defense by the court? So if one has followed the guide, one would not be seen as having breached the requirements. If it is the case, have you consulted the Department of Justice on this? I guess the greatest fear of one working in the relevant sectors is that one has followed everything in the guide, but they are still seen as not having fulfilled the requirements. So when it comes to reporting, some would tend to report if there is uncertainty. So you did say the police and the Social Welfare Department will deploy manpower to follow up on the reports. Do you have any figures on the manpower to be deployed? And I also want to say we need to exercise care with when it comes to cases handling, because we want to be prompt. So will you set a KPI for how much time you will need to process each report? I know that the number of reports will definitely increase, but we also need to make sure the quality of the reports will be up to par. How can you monitor the quality of the reports?
Undersecretary, I will take the first and the third question, and then Ms. Chau will supplement. We've asked the DOJ to give us advice on the decision tree as to whether the platform can serve as evidence. It depends. We do have a physical decision tree in place. If the mandated reporters have filled out the flowchart, that may serve as evidence. Regarding online courses, I've taken it. I'm one of the 50,000 users of the platform. Module 1 is not that difficult. For Module 2, statutory provisions will be included. I don't think that the trade practitioners will have to spend a long time to complete the programs. After the practitioners have watched the video, they can fill out the questions, and only after that can they collect the certificate. I will ask Ms. Chau to supplement. Thank you. In 2023-24, the government have set aside about $24 million to create 11 permanent posts to enhance the government's support capabilities and enforcement standards. We will offer training to mandated reporters. So we have increased manpower to carry out the duties under the ordinance. The member asked when we are going to act on the cases we received. For serious child abuse cases, the Family and Child Protective Services of the SWD and the police take action immediately. We reach out to the child immediately to assess the risk faced by the child. We need to see if the child has to be taken to the hospital, for example. If the case is not as urgent, we will plan for our follow-up action. Chairman, the administration said that they take action immediately. I hope that the action will still be taken swiftly despite the increase in the number of reports. Mr. Stanley. Thank you. I see that the administration has created a decision tree to assist the mandated reporters in making a decision. These mandated reporters are professional. I wonder if the guide is comprehensive enough. The ordinance will be enacted very soon. Should the mandated reporters not handle the cases in accordance with the ordinance, should we have the guide replace the ordinance? If we rely just on the guide, we wouldn't have to enact the ordinance. The guide should just serve as a tool to assist the mandated reporters in making their decision so that they can make a better judgment as to whether or not they should file a report. However, I think that the administration should reinforce that the mandated reporters themselves should be the one to make the decision based on their professional judgment and experience. I hope that the administration will continue to improve the guide so that reports will be made in time. I hope that the mandated reporters will not use the guide as an excuse for not making a report. I wonder if there will be over-reporting of child abuse because some mandated reporters, for fear of being prosecuted, may make reports regardless of the nature of the case. And as a result, our system may be saturated. As a result, a child in need may not be protected. Undersecretary, thank you. I thank Mr. Ng for his question. We have addressed this worry when we drafted the ordinance. According to Section 7 of the ordinance, a guide has to be formulated because many LegCo members asked for this guide so that the mandated reporters will be assisted in making their decision. So mandated professionals in the social welfare, education, and healthcare sectors will receive assistance. We know that different people, some professionals may need this guide to help them in making a decision. Chiropractors may, for example, not have such a knowledge on children, and that's why we have to formulate this framework to assist them in making a decision. We hope to cast a protection web leveraging on the 25 categories of specified professionals instead of relying on just, say, social workers. We want to minimize the problem to deter perpetrators. We hope that this message will be sent to grassroots trade unions so that each sector will know about the implementation of the ordinance. Thank you. Next, Mr. Stanley Lee. Thank you, Chairman. I commend the hard work of the administration for formulating this guide for mandated reporters. I agree with what the Undersecretary said, that we have to protect first and report later. I have some comments regarding the guide, regarding the timeliness and its accuracy. Mandated reporters are not mandated to fill out the guide or the flowchart. It serves just as a reference. There are not too many questions in the decision tree. Before I answer each of the questions, I have to read the analysis framework. It contains so many words. Can the administration not highlight some of the words that I have to pay particular attention to? Most of the mandated reporters are professionals. They are very busy. I have to, say, for example, spend at least 20 minutes to complete the decision tree. Can we streamline the flow? Are the assistants of the specified professionals able to fill out the form on behalf of these mandated reporters? Second, on accuracy, after I've answered all the questions, there will be a result. If the result says that I have to make a report, then the decision will be easy. Can I just press on the red button to file a report? Because if that's the case, then time can be saved. If the result is, say, I have to collect further information, is there a time limit for the collection of further information? If the mandated reporters have completed the flowchart or decision tree, will they be considered to have filed the report? I believe that these are the questions from potential users. If the reporter can directly file a report towards the end of the flowchart, then more people will make use of the decision tree, and that will minimize over-reporting. Undersecretary, I will say a few words first, and then the SWD will supplement. What we showed just now was just the decision tree. The guide is a book, and it will be quite thick. We've already tried to streamline the decision-making process for the professionals. As to whether we can highlight some of the main points, we will look into it. The specified professionals should be responsible for filing the report. Even if the assistants fill out the flowchart for the specified professional, the professional should still be the one to make the decision. I will ask Ms. Chau to further elaborate. Thank you. As we mentioned, we have just laid out some of the major principles in the decision tree. If the mandatory reporters know the case in detail, they don't have to rely on the decision tree. The flowchart or the decision tree is just for the reference of the specified professional. After they have printed the result out, they will still have to make a decision. For serious child abuse cases, we encourage the mandated reporters to reach out to the police or the Family and Child Protective Service of the SWD directly. As you can see on the electronic platform, they can press a button and that will bring the reporters to the reporting platform. And after they have entered or filed a report on that platform, that will go directly to the SWD or the police. In accordance with the ordinance, the mandated reporters have to give us details of the child to facilitate us in identifying them. They have to give us information on the perpetrators along with some other basic information so that the administration can take follow-up action. Regarding the reporting platform, as the Undersecretary said, the mandated reporters are required to file a report themselves. They cannot have others make report on their behalf. Next, Mr. TANG, Ka-piu. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, the Undersecretary said that there is an online learning courses for specified professionals. It lasts 3 hours. And I think that the specified professionals can complete the courses in 2 to 3 days, and they have to answer some 10 questions. About 80% of the professionals pass the test. I also have the certificate. I don't think the questions are very difficult. All of my assistants went through the program. I think that is very well designed. I have a few questions. For these 25 categories of specified professionals, well, it may involve some 300 to 500,000 people. I hope that you can let us know how we can make sure that these few 100,000 specified professionals will be willing to spend the 3 hours to complete the online learning courses on Module 1. For government subvented NGOs, schools, hospital authorities, their staff may be willing to go through the programs. But For other organizations or practitioners working for them, I wonder if they will go through or undertake these courses. Children, including those aged 17, will be protected under the ordinance. I know the professionals will still have to go through Module 2, Module 3. How do you make sure that these few 100,000 professionals will actually take these online learning courses? Let me give you an example. They have a guide formulated by the hospital authority, the education and healthcare sector, that comprises about 180 pages. I wonder how many pages the guide for mandated reporters will comprise. How do you expect these few 100,000 specified professionals will spend the time to read through the entire guide or participate in the online learning courses? These are my questions.
主席，因為
On the secretary. For private sector practitioners, I will ask the Department of Health representative colleague answer that questions. We expect that there would be approximately 200,000 practitioners at most because registrations are required for these professionals, so we have a rough figure. As Ms. Chau said, on different platforms, we have also some training modules available, so it's not just the training modules on our platform. We had talks held in schools, and just 2 weeks ago, we had held a large-scale talk, and we have observed more professionals have undertaken Module 1. So there is enhanced awareness. Let me now ask the Department of Health officer supplement my response. Thank you. Thank you. We do understand those in the health sector have a heavy workload. And many of them already have the requisite knowledge for identifying child abuse, so we do not mandate them to take Module 1. Once the guide is available, the Department of Health will disseminate such information to different groups within the health sector so that organizations can organize training for their staff members, and we will also disseminate such training content on healthcare related websites so that those in the health sector can access such information as conveniently as possible. Thank you. Ms. Lynn Kwok. I want to ask about the reporting platform. It can help with the decision making of the professionals, and it is a way for professionals to confirm whether their judgment is correct. But the platform is not available right now, correct? Correct. So, is it possible for us to try it out, LegCo members, to try it out so that we can provide you with some comments? We had a similar experience before where we were asked to provide some comments before a platform was commissioned. So I think we should adopt the same approach. Next, for professionals. You know, I have spoken about counselors. You call them counseling workers still. I think we need to make sure it is now called counselors in Chinese at least. Next, I do not chair. I'm sure you understand for the victims and their families or professionals handling the relevant cases. They may face pressure. They may be affected psychologically as well. So how can we ensure the psychological well-being of those handling the cases? I have done relevant work with those working in the health sector before. So you would have some training for the professionals. How much did that cost, and how will you make sure the psychological well-being of the ones handling the relevant cases in future is protected? I will work with the Secretariat to see how we can work out the arrangements for testing out the platform. I'll now let Ms. Chau supplement my answers. Thank you. On psychological well-being of the relevant officers, we have increased deployment, and we will in particular increase the number of clinical psychologists available. We have other kinds of support, but we believe victims are most likely going to need professional clinical psychological support for the children and the families as well. We also have some professional positions, not only clinical psychologists, but also social workers, to provide support to the handling officers if necessary. Well, is it the case that, as you said, in your structure there won't be counselors? Well, we do not include in 25 classes of professional counselors because currently counselors do not have to be registered. Thank you. I want to say something. When you talk about intervention, it's different from being a reporter. So I want to ask, for one who can perform intervention, can counselors do that? We have some one-off allocation to the teams. If necessary, the teams may engage counselors to provide such services, if necessary. Alright, I will extend the meeting by 15 minutes to 1 p.m. Mr. Income. I think the electronic decision tree is helpful. I also thank the administration for incorporating feedback of electrical members in improving the guide. I think the Undersecretary should conduct more trial runs. I'm not an expert in the field, of course, but I think you should have experts conduct the trial runs so as to really put the system to the test. I am concerned for all of the multiple choice questions, well, at least most of the multiple choice questions. There is an unsure option. Humans tend to go for the unsure option. So when that happens, what will be the result? How can you prevent people from selecting unsure if that is not necessary? So this platform will help with analyses. I know that you'll fine-tune the system in future, but for sexual abuse, say for 3.1, when the touching or the potential sexual abuse involves intentional touching of private parts. I think the key word here is intentional. I think professionals may have trouble defining that, so make sure to help professionals with these potential confusion. So I want to ask, in future we will need to improve the decision tree with reference to law or other practices. So how will you do that in future? I think Ms. Doreen Kong's suggestions are quite valid. We have formed 3 consultative panels in the education sector, social welfare sector, and health sector. We have members who are experts, and they have reviewed the guide and think the current arrangements are appropriate. But of course, we will review the effectiveness of the guide upon implementation. Thank you. Mr. Li Chan. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate how we have smoothly implemented mandatory reporting in a way. I agree with what other members said. The guide will help professionals make decisions, but if it takes a long time for the professionals to go through the whole decision tree, and many of the questions are hypothetical, would that make professionals think this is not worth it and they would just give up on going through the decision tree? Will you have a simplified version available on, say, mobile phones for the professionals to go through the process? Professionals are often quite busy. If you can have another option available on mobile, I think it will facilitate the professionals. The focus is to protect children, and I note in the 3rd phase we will have in schools and in families some publicity campaign, but I am concerned that does not go deep enough, because families who abuse children may not go to these in the first place, or they don't even pay attention to the notices issued by schools in the first place. So can we start with the 25 classes of professionals? Can we engage the professionals to help with publicity work? Can we put up signs in premises, or can we have logos, stickers for professionals to wear, so that when they meet with parents are told of the initiative? We do have a consensus that we have to have the professionals report potential child abuse, but then I think more importantly we should enhance awareness for the potential perpetrators. So I think we should go deeper. Thank you.
Under Secretary, we are not going to develop a mobile application. We may develop a mobile version of our website so that mandated reporters can access the platform via their mobile phones. I will ask Mr. Lee to talk about what promotional campaigns we're going to implement during the 3rd phase. Thank you. Principal Assistant Secretary, please. Thank you. Regarding the public-facing promotional campaigns, we have already started it. In June, we have rolled out an advertisement on the television and radio stations. As to the scale of our campaign, well, at the portals of tunnels, we're going to put advertisements as well as at the postal boxes across the territory. In early July, at different MTR stations, bus stops, the body of the taxis, we have put in place posters of the regime at different government websites, and at the Water Supplies Department bills, we are going to include child protection messages. For carers and parents, we want to cover them through our promotional campaigns. That's why we have been working with the Education Bureau. Education Bureau has a parent SmartNet website. They are going to put in place advertisement, and we will also leverage on schools to create, say, Facebook posts or disseminate messages via WhatsApp. We are going to also ask schools to disseminate infographics to the parents and carers. Chairman, I'm not worried about the promotional campaigns. I don't think that they are targeted enough. However, for hidden families, they may not have access to the service, and these promotional campaigns may not be able to reach out to them. I think that you should create mandated reporters, ambassadors. So that when parents go for Parents' Day at schools, they will receive such information. I have some questions as well. Thank you. I thank the administration for creating this flowchart. In the presentation, it said very clearly that mandated reporters don't have to refer to the decision tree. If the result shows that the mandated reporters don't have to make a report, that may constitute a reasonable excuse in the court. I think that you have to give it another thought. If still the mandated reporters have to make their own decision despite going through the entire decision tree, then it seems that filling out the decision tree is just a form of procedures. If the tree is just of assistive nature, then the mandated reporters may not be willing to use it. I think that the decision tree is great. Specified professionals don't want to waste the government's time. But if in the end it's the mandated reporters who have to make a decision, then that may result in underreporting. Some specified professionals ask if they can retain some conversation or pictures in private. A child may say that they suffer from bone fractures because of playing basketball. Some specified professionals, if they come across such case, they wonder if they can record the audio recording. Record the conversation. They may have suspicion because of the parents' odd attitude. Will they be given a statutory power to keep or record the conversation with the relevant child. I will ask Miss Chau to talk about the specific case. Some mandated reporters may answer no or uncertain to many of the questions. As a result, the final outcome may be that the reporters does not have to make a report. If the abuse actually happened, the judge would ask about the answers given by the mandated reporters in the flowchart. If the mandated reporters have actually given full details of the case when they fill out the flowchart or decision tree, that may constitute a defense. But if the mandated reporters just want to dispense of their responsibilities by not answering the flowchart seriously, then that may not constitute a defense. I think that the mandated reporters should have the responsibility to make a decision. Members may have different views, but I think that I'd rather the decision tree be more complicated because many mandated reporters may want to rely on this tree. Many specified professionals want to see such a decision tree to assist them in making a decision. If they have filled out the information truthfully, and if still they cannot use the outcome as a defense, then that may make things very difficult for them. Some specified professionals may spend the time to fill out all the information truthfully. The outcome should constitute a defense for that particular professional. I will ask Ms. Chau to supplement. In the electronic decision tree, as you can see, we have laid out the factors to consider for the mandated reporters so that they will not miss out on any high-risk cases. If they can give all answers clearly, then they will see the result, and we have also given more details on the right-hand side. We allow them to download the result so that they can remind themselves what factors they have taken into account before they make a decision to or not to file a report. And this serves as a record for the mandated reporters as well. If the mandated reporters are not sure about many of the questions, then the platform may ask them to collect further information. When the reporters has more information, they can go through the entire decision tree again to see if there will be another result shown to them. That concludes this part. Any other business? We do have one. We may have to extend the meeting until 1:15 p.m. Any objection?
我哋而家請呢就
This is about support measures for single-parent families. I will ask the representatives of the LWD and the SWD to walk us through the paper that is CB bracket 11164/25 bracket 01. Members who would like to put questions, please press the request to speak button. Other Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Stanley and Mr. Ka-piu for their views. Regarding single-parent families, we provide welfare support services to them. We address also their challenges as carers. Starting from today, Together with the hospital authority, we're going to implement a mechanism for people receiving carers allowance that amount to about 10,000 people. If they're hospitalized, we're going to offer support to them and the people that they care for. For single-parent families, some are more fragile, some may be more well-supported. In the future, we will see if we will include their information to our carer database on a voluntary basis so that if either of the parent is hospitalized, we can offer support to them. We thank the members for their views. Thank you. Mr. Tang Ka-piu. 3 minutes, including question and answer, please. Thank you, Chairman. The reason why Mr. Stanley and I drafted the letter is because my constituency, Lokwa Estate incident, the tragedy. I will not go into the details of it. The government tried to help SDU in their targeted poverty alleviation policy for elderly households. We have support measures for them in terms of their health care services. For single-parent families, it seems that the administration has not adopted any innovative measure to identify high-risk cases so that we can assist them. It's harder for us to identify high-risk single-parent families compared to the other two types of fragile groups. For children aged below 14, we need to pay particular attention to them. Schools and social welfare departments should have the basic information of these children of single-parent families. What more can we do to minimize any tragedies? How can we further support single-parent families? This is why we drafted the letter. The Undersecretary said that the administration has adopted many measures to help them, but is there any more innovative help that we can offer to them? Undersecretary, for high-risk carer, including the mechanism that we implement today, we have different measures. Previously, we asked the carers to seek help on their own. Now, if we know that the carers are hospitalized, then the administration will send staff to look into the case. I think that this is a breakthrough. Although single-parent families are not included in the mechanism, we'll look into whether we will do so in the future. For carers receiving carers allowance that amount to some 10,000 people, they will receive assistance under the mechanism. As to whether we can extend the coverage of the mechanism, we will look into it after it's been in place for some time. Thank you. Dr. Tick, or rather, Mr. Tang. There is something special about single-parent families. They cannot be identified just by visiting household, by the community care teams, for example. Kindergartens and primary schools attach a lot of importance to missing classes of their students. Can the Undersecretary let us know if there is any mechanism to reach out to students who miss classes many times? For the child involved in the tragedy that I named, they missed many classes.
而家現
I will ask Ms. Chau to talk about the existing mechanism, but we do note the suggestions of the member. Right now, for non-attendance of students, the Education Bureau has relevant guidelines for how to follow up on such cases. From kindergartens to secondary schools, there are social workers. We also have counseling personnel that will follow up on potential family issues. So social workers will follow up on the relevant cases. They may also make referrals to the integrated family service units of the social welfare department. The schools may identify high-risk cases themselves, so they may refer the cases to the social workers of integrated family service units so that we can have a protection web for children and their single-parent families. Thank you. If there is no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.